Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and today I wanted to talk to you about L&M Fine Jewelry. The L stands for Landy, the M stands for Michael, and the An stands for their son, Carson, or as he jokingly says, it stands for Carson. It's a family-owned jewelry company. It's your diamond destination. I know it's my destination. I went there to get my fiance's engagement ring. They took great care of me. Their customer service is amazing. They're very attentive to what you need and what you're looking for, and they know exactly how to get you that. And also, their communication is top notch. They take great pride in taking good care of their customers. They took great care of me and my fiance every time we went in there. Great smiles on all their faces. They do a great job. If you're in the Missoula area, or even if you're in the state of Montana, you have to drive over to Missoula, come to L&M Fine Jewelry, get that ring for that special person. It's your diamond destination.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. Today, I got a great video for you guys. I appreciate you guys for tapping into the channel. Been growing, been getting some great comments, been getting some subscriber questions as well. So I got a few of those today, but got some really good topics for you guys today. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you leave a comment down below for me so that I can look at those. I love to look at what you guys say following the videos. But today we are going to be talking about college football execs, contracts for NIL pay, which could affect bowl games, which is very exciting, interesting as well. And NFL scouts' comments on playing time and comp level, which I talk about a lot. Cam Ward. We're going to talk about EA's College Football 25 video game to have cover players of current players, multiple cover players. So that'll be interesting. The NCAA potentially having to pay $2.7 billion in an NIL lawsuit, which is insane. Sam Herder's list of most likely FCS over FBS wins. We will be looking at that. Alex Gubner has signed to the Chiefs. That might be the first thing we talk about, but got a lot of topics to talk about. Got a lot of great topics to talk about. Got a lot of good information to cover within all of those topics. Make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and we will get straight into it. Okay, after the long-awaited, I don't even know, after just a long wait, it's been like a week since the draft ended. The draft ended last week, and I don't know exactly when he got invited to rookie minicamp. I think rookie minicamp actually might be taking place right now, but it seems that Alex Gubner has been invited to the Chiefs rookie minicamp, hoping that he's able to show his skills, show his ability enough to where he's able to get himself a training camp invite, so that he can be on the 90-man roster going into training camp, giving him an opportunity to, make a practice squad, make the 53-man roster. I mean, all you need is an opportunity, and that's what rookie minicamp is giving Alex Gubner right now. So I'm very excited about that. Obviously, we know Nash Fouch is getting his opportunity with the Giants. We know that, I should have had the list right in front of me. We know that our punter, got an opportunity as well. I think that was with the Jets. Nobody signed a UDFA with from the Griz. Nobody signed a UDFA. We saw that what's his name? AJ Forbes is getting an opportunity with the Seahawks, a rookie minicamp invite with the Seahawks. So a couple guys getting opportunities. Would love to see in the future guys get signed to UDFA contracts instead of getting minicamp invites, but I don't know. I don't know why a team that just went to the national championship can't get more than a rookie minicamp invite. I mean, I think I think the Griz were a very talented squad last year. I think they have they had a lot of ability. I think they had a lot of players on their team that were really good. I'm surprised to not see Chris Walker even get an opportunity, but I know he did hurt his pec at Pro Day. So that might have been something that scouts took a note of and, kind of stayed away from him. But, I don't know. It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. I mean, I know Coach Houck is a really good coach, and a good friend of mine always says that Coach Houck is able to get more out of less. So it's like if Houck has a really super talented team, they might not perform as well on the field, because a lot of people would say that we've had more talented teams in the past than we did last year. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like, you look at the 2019 squad, ridiculous. Offensively, just alone, that 2019 squad was stupid. Jerry Louis McGee, myself, Samori Toure, Marcus Knight at running back. We had Dalton Sneed at quarterback. pretty good offensive line. I can't remember exactly who we had on our offensive line in 2019. But our defense was really good as well. We had Dante on the defense. I think 2019 we had Jace and Dante as linebackers. I can't remember who was that third backer. It might have been Pat at that time in 2019. Maybe not Pat. I can't exactly remember who was playing on the edge in 2019. But we had a pretty good squad. I think Robbie was on the defense at that point. A younger Robbie, but still a very effective, very active Robbie Hauk. We had, I'm blanking on names right now. Gavin, the head hunter at safety. At corner in 2019, we would have Justin, and then it might have been, I don't think Nash was there in 2019. 2019 might have been Nash. I know we had Justin. It might have been Nash too, but we had a squad. We definitely had a squad in 2019. 2021 even. I don't know. Last year might have been a little more talented than 2021, but we've had squads in the past, and they haven't been able. 2018 was a pretty talented squad too, and we weren't very good at all. That was Hauk's first year back, so I expected to have some growing pains then. But they had a really talented squad this past year, and maybe you could say a lot of those guys were juniors or sophomores from that last year's squad, especially our receiving core, who was a lot of juniors. I mean, Junior was a junior. I think Aaron might have been a sophomore or a junior. Keelan was a junior. So maybe some of the guys who contributed a lot were underclassmen. So maybe this next year we can anticipate those guys having a lot of success in the draft process. Hopefully signing UDFAs, maybe somebody getting drafted. We'll see. I would love to see somebody from Montana get drafted. That would be amazing. I know my dog Samori got drafted a couple years ago, but technically he was out of Nebraska. We still count him as an FCS draftee. Don't get me started. But he was out of Nebraska, so I'd love to see somebody stay at Montana and get drafted out of Montana. That would be awesome. But Alex Gubner got his opportunity. A couple other guys from the Griz are getting their opportunities, so super excited about that. Super excited to see if anybody's able to make it into training camp and in turn make it on the 53-man roster or even get a practice squad opportunity. Just got to stay around, and eventually they'll put you out there. You'll get your opportunity, and you'll get to show what you're able to do. But it's professional football at the end of the day. You're playing against the best of the best, so show that you belong there, show that you deserve to stay there, and, everything will turn out how it's supposed to be. But super excited. You guys let me know how you think about that in the comments. I hadn't even been thinking about, like, Chris Walker and how he was on the Feldman's freak list. I think that was 2 years ago, but still made it on Feldman's freak list. And, he didn't even get into a training camp at all. Like, he didn't even get into a mini camp. So I'm interested to see how that goes. But you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments, and we'll move on. A college football exec eyes contracts for NIL pay to make players obligated, in quotes, obligated to play bowl games. Now, I think this is something that is very, very necessary. I mean, we saw this last year, and say what you want about Florida State, say what you want about that squad. I would have loved to see them play Georgia. I would have loved to see that game. Florida State at full strength, minus their quarterback, obviously Jordan Travis, because he got hurt, and then Georgia at full strength with Carson Beck, all their offensive weapons, all of their defensive weapons. I don't even know if everybody at Georgia played. I can't remember right now if Brock Bowers played and if some of their receivers, some of their defensive weapons have played. I can't even remember, but I would have loved to see them. I would have loved to see them compete against each other. During. I would have loved to see them compete against each other. Here's what it says. Future name, image, and likeness NIL deals for college athletes could include stipulations requiring player participation in bowl games. So basically now, with a stipulation, that's like I don't even want to call it an incentive because it's not an incentive. It's like a requirement. So it's like, if we're giving you this NIL money, then in turn, you have to play 12 games plus a bowl game. You have to play 12 games plus playoff games, whatever it looks like. If you sign a contract and receive compensation, you're obligated to perform certain duties. In this case, play 12 regular season games and a bowl game, or a bowl game and the playoff. Carparelli said per Dinich. That's logical to expect. It's the way the rest of us working folks operate. 100%. And that's been the thing with like this transfer portal and NIL is like a lot of times these guys are getting this money. These guys are being able to go to whatever school they want. But a lot of this stuff is not real life. Like, you don't just get to leave whenever you want. You don't just get to, take this money with no strings attached ever. That's not how people don't just give you money to give you money for your. I mean, if you have a name, image, and likeness, if you have a brand that can garner somebody some money, that can bring some money to another brand, that makes sense to give you that money. But also, when people sign contracts in real life, no matter what their name, image, and likeness can garner them in compensation, there's always stipulations in these contracts. It's never just like, we'll give you this money and nothing from you. Like, what are we getting in return? How are we getting guarantees that, like, you're going to be here for us for the full length of this contract? How are we getting guarantees that we're going to give you this money and you're going to fulfill your obligations to us? Now, with this new rule, I don't even know. It's not a new rule, but with this new development, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's something that definitely needs to be implemented. I would love to see this be implemented before this year, before this season starts, so that we can see what it would look like in play. But it's just like, we give these we will give you this money if you play 12 games in the regular season, 11 games if it's an FCS player. But I don't know how that would look, because we play the playoffs anyway. So it's like, if you're not making the playoffs, you don't get a postseason in the FCS. So yeah, that's why we do it the right way. Anyway, but if we're giving you this money, say whatever X dollar amount it is, you play 12 games, you play in this bowl game. If you don't, a percentage of that money has to come back to us, or all of the money has to come back to us. Would that like null and void the contract? I don't know, but I think it will make guys think twice about opting out. And I 100% get why guys opt out. I understand that, like, you want to protect your draft stock. You want to protect, you don't want to get hurt in a bowl game and hurt your draft stock, hurt your draft process. I get that. But from a fan's perspective, from a brand's perspective, like I can't even remember what bowl game. It was a New York 6 bowl that Florida State played in against Georgia, and all the top Florida State players didn't play, and they got blown out by 60. And, from people who are the sponsors who are running that bowl game, that looks terrible for them, because it's like, these are supposed to be some of the top bowl games every year. These are the biggest sponsors. These are the most money bowl games. These are on national. I mean, I think a lot of the bowl games are on national television, but it's like, these are on the big networks getting the good playing time slots. Like, everything is set up for these to be the big money makers in bowl season outside of the college football playoff. And when one team doesn't even play all of their best players, that is bad business. That is bad business. So now that these players are getting paid, now that these players are getting these NIL deals of stupid amounts of money. I mean, it's probably not stupid amounts of money. Everybody says it's stupid amounts of money, but I don't really think it's truly stupid amounts of money. These kids are probably getting decent amounts of money, more than they probably would doing something else, but I think they deserve it. Either way, these kids are getting good amounts of money through NIL. Make them fulfill some obligations. Make them have to, actually adhere to a real contract, like it would be in the NFL, like it would be in real life. I mean, if you sign a contract with a company, there are stipulations within that contract that would keep you from doing other things, would restrict you from working with other people, would hold you at that position for a certain amount of time. Like, there's things in contracts that restrict people and have obligations that you have to fulfill. And so that being a development at the college football level with all of this NIL could be very instrumental. I think it could be very exciting. I think it's something that could, make these bowl games more exciting when you don't have all the opt-outs. And you'll probably still see opt-outs because, a lot of the guys there may be some guys who aren't under contracts like that. Like, that might, I mean, we don't really know what this is going to look like. I think this is just an idea from an NFL, from a college football exec saying that this is how things should be moving going forward. And it's just like I said, like, when NIL first became a thing, it was the Wild Wild West. Nobody really knew how to operate it. And, the NCAA just kind of, Florida kind of set things off, and the NCAA kind of followed suit, saying, okay, yeah, we'll put some rules and regulations in place. But the rules and regulations in place were just kind of baseline. They didn't really know what they were doing. They didn't really have an idea of what NIL would look like. They didn't really have an idea of what the marketplace would look like. I think now the marketplace is starting to shape up. I think now they're starting to figure out what it needs to look like at the college football level. And I think they're figuring out how they need to regulate it at the college football level. So that's why we're seeing, as months go by, as years go by since NIL has been in place, that people are starting to figure out what's best to regulate it, what's best to, so this is something that I think could be very instrumental. This plan would involve universities bringing NIL collectives in-house, Calabrese said per Dellinger. So, just like I read last week about how, this would mean that the NIL would be regulated by the athletic department instead of having these third-party collectives. This would bring the collectives in-house. So basically, the NIL collective would be, I think at this point, NIL collectives are third party to the university, because technically before the rule that I talked about last week about how schools are now able to work with these third parties, meaning these collectives. Before that, the schools weren't allowed to be involved in NIL at all. They were there to regulate it. Obviously, like the athletic directors and the assistant athletic directors were there to regulate it, make sure rules were being followed. But in terms of having a hands-on approach to the NIL, I don't think schools were allowed to do that. Now, with the new rule that the Division I board put in a week or two ago, they're allowed to have a hand in NIL dealings, dealing with these third parties. Also, what they're saying basically to move into the contract stage of you have to play so many games, NIL would have to be an in-house thing for that to take place, I think, because that's the best way. That's the only way you can really regulate it, is through the athletic departments, through the athletic directors, the assistant athletic directors, all of that. Collectives, which help fund NIL offers for student athletes, currently operate independently from schools. Yeah, so I just said that, but man, this would be crazy. I would love to see if there would be pushback from players on this. Because, I'm sure everybody sees something like this. Everybody from a fan perspective sees this and they're like, man, this is awesome. This is going to be amazing. But then you think about the players. Obviously, and this is why the players need a union. Because say what you want about, this being fair or unfair. Personally, I think that this is something that's needed. I would love to see all the best players playing bowl games. But I also do get, guys wanting to protect their draft stock. I would never fault a guy for not wanting to play in a game to protect his draft stock. So I kind of play both sides, because I would love to see all these teams at full power in some of these bowl games. But I get it. If you're not playing for a championship, there's no point to hurt your draft stock. So I think there's definitely going to be pushback from players on if something like this were to become real. And that's why a lot of people are saying now that these kids need a players association. They need somebody arguing in their best interest, because ultimately, just like I said at the beginning of this topic, was all those guys sitting out for that bowl game is bad for business. That's losing some of these big companies' money, because as many people as possible aren't tuning into the game because they know Florida State wasn't at full strength. So maybe they tap into the beginning of the game, but they're not going to watch the whole game, because they see early into the first quarter, this is not going to be the game we want it to be. This is not going to be a tight game. This is not going to be a competitive game. There's no point in us watching this. So I get that from a money standpoint, the big companies want these guys to play in it. But from a player's perspective, I would be like, why? Why does this need to be a stipulation in the contract? So that's going to be something that, when NIL becomes in-house, that's going to be something that the players and their association and the athletic directors association, or whatever is the governing body for NIL, are going to have to hash out. They're going to have to argue these points. They're going to have to, argue for themselves. I think I don't think it's not something that's going to go over easy. I don't think it's something that's just going to, somebody's going to write it up and it's just going to be passed. I think we're past that time of, the NCAA and college football players getting taken advantage of. At this point, there's money on the table. Salary caps are being talked about. Revenue streams are being talked about. So many things are being talked about at this point in terms of college athletics and the power that these student athletes have. So I don't think just passing a rule like that in terms of making them obligated to play a certain amount of games and a bowl game is going to go over without any argument. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I think it's a good rule. I think it would be awesome. But I also get the player's perspective, having been a former player. So I understand, why players would not want that to go through. I understand why players would not want something like that on the table. And it makes sense. You guys let me know what you think about in the comments. Do you think this is a good rule to put into place, or do you guys think they need to pump their brakes? Let me know, and we will move on. I saw this. I swear I always see college football stuff that's quoted by Sam Herder. This isn't I can't remember. It was some group of 5 page that had posted this, and Sam Herder quoted it, talking about how
just in favor of the FCS. Obviously, Sam Herder is always going to be in favor of the FCS. He's one of the biggest FCS reporters that we have at the FCS level. So obviously he's going to be tapped into this. But an NFL scout's comments on playing time and comp level. This is something I've talked about in the past, and I thought it was a really cool quote. "It doesn't matter where you go, just play and be productive," said one NFL scout. That's because, you know, a lot of times when these FCS guys transfer, and I've talked about this in the past with referring to a lot of Sam Herder's topics about, you know, FCS guys going to the FBS and the success level, and then like FCS quarterbacks going to the FBS level and their success level. It's not a high rate of success. We are watching guys at South Dakota State who are better than half the guys at Power 5 school. Man, I said this, and I don't know if I said this on my channel, but I have said multiple times, that South Dakota State squad last year and probably the year before could have beaten every group of 5 team in the country. And I fully 100% believe that. That South Dakota State squad could have beaten every group of 5 team in the country. Name me one group of 5 team that South Dakota State team couldn't have beat last year. Name me one. They could have beat Liberty. They could have beat James Madison. Like, name me one. Name me one. They could have beat, what's the school down south? The Chandelier, or the Chanticleers? I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong, but I can't even remember the name. Either way, that turquoise and black school down that used to be FCS. What is it? Gosh, I just had it on my head. Either way, it's gone. I'm gonna give up. There's not a group of 5 team that the South Dakota State could not have beaten. So what that scout is saying is freaking true. The defensive linemen from Western Michigan, they went and dominated at Western. At those schools, you can still get to go to the Senior Bowl and the Combine. So you go where you get the reps and the playing experience, 100%. And that is what I try to tell some of these young guys when they think about transferring. It's like, yes, they're saying you're going to get this in NIL. Yes, they're saying they're going to put you out there. But they're telling every recruit there that they're trying to build the best roster they possibly can. They're trying to have as most competition as they possibly can. They cannot guarantee you a spot. And honestly, as a competitor, you shouldn't want a spot to be guaranteed for you. But if you have a great opportunity at an FCS school, a upper tier FCS school, that's why I don't get why some of these guys transfer from the FCS Blue Bloods, like the North Dakota States, like the South Dakota States, like the Montanas, like the Montana States, because if you're leaving to go play at a group of 5, you're not bettering your position. If you're leaving to go play at a lower tier Power 5 school, I don't really think you're bettering your position. I mean, I think at the Power 4, Power 5 level, it's a little different. But if you're leaving an FCS school, an upper tier blue blood FCS school, to go to a lower tier group of 5 school, you're not doing anything for yourself, because they don't respect. The scouts have the same amount of respect for group of 5 competition as they do FCS competition. I fully believe that. I 100% believe that. Unless you're one of the better group of 5 schools in the country and you're playing in a good bowl game, or you're playing against some group of 5, some Power 5 competition, like they respect the group of 5 the same as they respect the FCS. So play where you're playing, be a starter for 3 to 4 years, be an all-conference guy for 3 to 4 years, be an All-American for 3 to 4 years, ball out. And it's really big. The biggest thing for these guys, which I don't think that they understand, is your tape is going to speak for itself. So, like, show that you have the correct technique on tape. Show that you're not getting dominated on tape. Show that you're doing the dominating on tape. They will see that. That is what tells the story for you. Like, your tape. Are you bigger, faster, stronger, better? Are you just better than your competition that you're playing against? Are you better than them in every facet? Do you have good technique? Do you show explosiveness? Do you show that you have speed? Do you show that you have good change of direction? Do you show that you know the game? Are you intelligent? Like, this is what they're looking at on film. That's what they're trying to disseminate from your film. And then they bring you, if you show that on film, if you show domination on film, that means we should bring you into our All-Star game, the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, the NFLPA Bowl, the Hula Bowl. That's why we bring you in, to see what we like, to see if what we saw on tape matches up to what we see in person. And then they come to your pro day, or they see you at the Combine. Obviously, these timelines, like the All-Star games happen first, and then the pro day Combine happens next. We see you in person at these All-Star games. What we see on tape translate to what we're seeing against this upper tier NFL comp level. All these guys at these All-Star games, Hula Bowl, Senior Bowl, NFLPA, Shrine Bowl. This is NFL level competition that we want to see you play against. This is most likely upper tier G5, upper tier FCS, upper tier Power 5 competition that you're going to be competing against. Are you showing out against this competition? Are you able to do what we saw on tape against this competition? Finally comes the pro day, comes the combine, if you get invited to the combine. Does your speed check out to what we saw on tape? Does your change of direction time show up to match up to what we saw on tape? Does your strength match up to what we saw on tape? Or is there an anomaly in there? That's what the whole process is about. And then comes your draft grade. What will his draft grade be? What do we think of this guy? Could he be a starter at the next level? Is he a special teams guy? Is he a practice squad guy? Like, what is this tape? What is everything that we have? That's how they compile their information. Your tape comes first. That is what they're looking at first. So make sure, no matter what level you're at, G5, Power 5, FCS level, make sure you're dominating your competition, or they're not. It doesn't matter. Next comes the All-Star games. Then comes the testing numbers. The testing really, to me, is last. That stuff holds weight, but your tape is going to tell the whole story for you. So that's why I don't get why Alex Gubner from Montana couldn't at least get a freaking opportunity. Couldn't at least get signed as a UDFA. And I know, there's not an exorbitant amount of UDFA spots out there, so I kind of understand he's an undersized D tackle, an undersized 3-1 technique. I get that. But the tape speaks for itself. This guy was dominating week in and week out. This guy got voted Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year, and I don't think it was particularly close. Like, I think there was a Weber State guy who had a good case to be the Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year. I think there was a Montana State player, Valdez, who had an opportunity to be a Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year. But Gub, like, the coaches voted him Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year because you turn on the tape and he is the key to that defense. He was dominating week in and week out. And that's what the NFL scouts want to see. Are you dominating? What are you, or, I mean, even if they're not seeing domination, what, like, do we see the traits that we need at the NFL level? Do we see speed? Do we see explosiveness? Obviously, you still have to be productive. And that's what I'm saying. The production is going to speak for itself. Are you getting open? Are you making tackles? Are you making open field tackles? Are you getting to the quarterback? Are you able to protect your quarterback? I mean, I'm naming a bunch of different positions in their jobs right now, but it's like, this is what they're looking for. So stop thinking that you transferring, I mean, it does work out for a lot of people too. Transferring does, and I don't want to speak like and act like transferring doesn't work out for guys, because it does. It does. It does. But the hit rate on guys who transfer from the FCS level and are successful is much lower than you would think it is. Like, guys transfer up and they get half, or even like they get way less the playing time. Like, they're not the same opportunities. Like, it doesn't always work out for everybody. The hit rate is very low. So I think the better opportunity is to play and start at a FCS upper tier school. Now, if you're at a lower FCS school and you want to go up to even a G5 or even a better FCS school, I get that. Like, sometimes, like, you're just in a bad situation where there's not going to be a lot of eyes on you no matter what your tape looks like. Like, nobody's going to respect what you're doing. So at that point, I think it does make sense to go up. But if you're at one of these better FCS schools or these better G5 schools, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Everybody's situation is different, but, I agree with what this scout is saying. Dominate, play where you're at, and dominate, and, let the chips fall where they may. A lot of guys out of these FCS schools, a lot of guys out of these G5 schools get great opportunities to go to all-star games, to play perform in the combine, and all of that without, ever leaving. So, trust the process. Trust the process. Trust the process. What do you guys think about this? Do you guys agree or do you guys disagree? Let me know in the comments and we will move on. Okay. This is a quote from, I can't remember what I was reading. I think this was on Bleacher Report. Or I think I saw it from some Miami football outlet. But they said Cam Ward might be the next great Miami quarterback, which is very interesting because I know throughout this offseason I've talked about how Reese Poffenberger transferred there. I think he's still there. So, and obviously he was only a sophomore, so he's got a couple years after Cam Ward leaves. But yeah, Cam Ward, I mean, he was a dog at Incarnate Word. So it's no surprise that he was now a dog at Wazoo, transferred from Wazoo, potentially was going to go to the NFL, ended up going to Miami, and now they're thinking he's going to be the next great Miami quarterback.
That would be awesome. That would be a great story. That would be a great story. Cameron Ward admits he is a natural trash talker. He's a quarterback, a team leader. He says getting his teammates fired up is his job. This is especially true now that he is at Miami, where Ward transferred in January to win a championship and improve himself along the way. In his view, there's no more time to waste. Every rep matters, 100%, 100%. I think at this point he's a senior. I think at this point, scouts have seen him on tape. They see the ability that he has. He's a very accurate passer of the football. He can push the ball down the field. I think he has all the skills as a quarterback. But now you're at big time Power 4 ACC competition. I mean, you were in the Pac-12 last year, and I think he did pretty well in the Pac-12 last year. But I think he probably could have gotten an NFL opportunity off of last year, but I think he's trying to improve his stock, potentially be a first, second, third rounder, and he's trying to show he has that ability. Cameron Ward admits, I got that on here twice. I do have that on here twice. Ward said he was told he would be a 3rd to 5th round pick. Though the news was disappointing, Ward believes he could have worked his way up during the draft process. What he could not get out of his head, though, was what Miami coaches told him during his recruitment. Ultimately, he decided he wanted to play one more year in college because he believed it could make him a better player, improve his draft stock, and give him one more chance to win a championship. 100%. I hope he goes. And now that we got the 12-team playoff, this is a great possibility. He plays in the ACC. He's going to play against good competition. You get in the playoff, you be one of those top 12 teams, really the top 11. You really, with the Power 5, you got to be one of the top 11 because a G5 school is guaranteed a spot in the playoff. So from the Power 4 level, be one of those top 4 Power 4 schools, one of those top 11 Power 4 schools, and you're going to get into the playoff. Get into the playoff and see what happens. See what happens. Like this is a great opportunity for you, yes, to improve your draft stock. You guys got to win, and you got to be flawless. And I think he understands that. I mean, not to put pressure on the kid, but pressure is a privilege, and I think he understands that as well. And being a 3rd to 4th rounder after coming from the FCS level is honestly that's a great story in itself, bro. Like you came up from Incarnate Word, who was not very good, is not a very upper tier FCS school, but you balled out. You balled out and showed that you had the ability. Went into the transfer portal, went to Wazoo once again, to get the starting spot from going to Incarnate Word to Washington, because I don't know if you were the only guy they brought in, but that's a feat in itself, because we talk about all the time. A lot of these guys transfer from FBS schools or from FCS schools to FBS schools, and that's the last you hear of them. They get lost in the wash. For him to go from Incarnate Word, a lower tier FCS school, to Wazoo, which at the time, Washington State, which at the time was a Pac-12 school, to see him go there, ball out, earn the starting spot, ball out, and have the opportunity to be a 3rd to 5th round NFL draft pick, or go to a Power 4 school, a bigger Power 4 school, now at Miami, that's a feat in itself. But I get him, seeing that 3rd to 5th round draft pick status and saying I don't really like that. I think I can do better than that. And I think he can do better than that. I think he has the ability. And I think some of that might have been because of the draft class that he would have been in this past year. J.J. McCarthy, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Drake May. I'm forgetting one. But you guys, Jaden Daniels, you guys get the point. 6 really, 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 really good quarterbacks. A Heisman winner, 2 Heisman winners in that class. A national champion in J.J. McCarthy. A national championship runner-up in Michael Penix. Bo Nix has played a ton of snaps. That was a thick class, and then we're not even talking about some of the lower tier. But I believe he probably would have been a 3rd to 5th round pick in this past draft class. But he wants to get up. He wants to be higher than that. And I think, and this also relates to what I talked about a couple of weeks ago. It's just some of these guys wouldn't have always been 1st round draft picks in the past. The quarterback position has become so valued, and people have been searching for that one so much these days that they're willing to draft guys higher than they probably would have been. I don't know which quarterbacks wouldn't have been. I think Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake May probably would have been 1st rounders any year because of their talent. But J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, I don't know, because I think Michael Penix would have been a 1st rounder. It's just his injury history. I don't know. It's hard to tell who would have and wouldn't have been a 1st rounder. But I think Cam Ward, being where the quarterback landscape is where it is, depending on what teams are needing a quarterback going into next year, depending on how some of these rookies turn out, somebody might be, and depending on how he plays. There's so factors that play into
where Cam Ward ends up and what his draft stock will look like next year. But I think if he balls out, he could definitely be a first or second round draft pick next year. 100%. And I hope he is. That makes the FCS look great. That looks really good for him and his story. And yeah, I think it'll be very exciting. What do you guys think about Cam Ward? What do you guys think about his potential at Miami? You guys think he's going to be a dog? Or do you guys think, he's going to do the same thing he did at Wazoo, Play well, but the team's not going to win. I mean, I think this will be a big judgment of his leadership. I think Miami has a decent squad. I don't know too much about Miami, but I think they were pretty decent last year. We saw them lose some crazy games, but, I think they have the potential to be pretty good. So you guys let me know in the comments, and we will move on. EA's College Football 25 video game to feature covers with current players. Now, I was reading a little bit about this, and actually, let me read these quotes real quick, and then I'll talk about it. The long-awaited revival of the NCAA football game franchise will see a major change in the branding. Extra Points' Matt Brown reported EA Sports College Football 25 will have multiple cover athletes and include current players rather than past legends. The cover stars will come from the different Power 5 conferences and play different positions, so there won't be any overlap between the two. One more thing. The old NCAA football game didn't license the name and image of current players, only identifying them by their position and jersey number. As a result, EA Sports largely leaned on notable stars who just left the college ranks when it came to their cover stars. So, I think RG3 might have been on the cover. Tim Tebow might have been on one of the covers. Vince Young might have been on the cover. I can't remember who was on the cover of the NCAA games, but I think Tim Tebow might have been the last cover athlete of the 14 game, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, you guys know EA Sports NCAA College Football, great video game. Seems like they're doing cover athletes on this year's game, and those cover athletes are probably going to get compensated nicely for that cover status. But also, it seems like they're trying to do regionalization. But the one thing I was reading, and I think I was reading this in that article that I put in there, the Bleacher Report article, which was talking about with that regionalization of the cover athletes and having these cover athletes play different positions, because there's no paper copies, there's no physical copies of games. People don't really do physical video games anymore. You're most likely going to download the video game from the marketplace or the PlayStation Store right onto your console. You're not going to need a disc. Nobody uses disc. I remember when I first got my Xbox One S, whatever it's called. I didn't even have a video video game slot, and I still had some CDs. I still had some discs from my old Xbox, and I remember I was like, dang, I can't even play these games anymore. I think at that point I still had COD as a disc, and I couldn't even play it anymore. I mean, that was a couple years ago. Obviously now there's no more CDs. I don't think anybody uses discs anymore unless it's NCAA 2014. And I think that has I don't know how people still play NCAA 2014, but I know people still play it. Either way, the game systems has come a long way. So at that point, how do you make multiple different covers if people are buying the same game digitally? How do you do that? But I think this is very instrumental in college football. I think I think it's going to be exciting to see who gets the cover. Shedeur Sanders, there were some names that they mentioned in the article, like Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Quinn Ewers. I'm trying to think of some other big names. I can't really, I guess Travis Hunter is one defensive name, but I don't really know any great linemen at the college football level at this point. I don't really know any good D linemen at the college football level at this point. Yeah, so I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how they choose the players. I would be interested to know what that NIL number would look like for them, what they're getting compensated for that cover. I think that's very interesting as well. Is it 10,000? Is it 100,000? What is it? 50,000? What are they getting paid? But it's exciting. It's exciting that there's going to be cover athletes. Another question I had is, will there be an NCAA cover curse? Now, I think we've seen the NCAA or the Madden curse has been broken. I think Patrick Mahomes was the one to break it. I think there's been other players who didn't necessarily get hurt or have a bad season after getting the cover. But Patrick Mahomes, I think, won the Super Bowl after getting the cover, or a year or two after getting the cover. He balled out. Will there be an NCAA cover curse? These guys get the cover, and then next thing you know, they're duds their next season, or they don't perform as well their next season. And I know that's we know how the internet works these days. People are gonna see somebody on the cover, and that's gonna be a point of emphasis, especially if Shedeur Sanders gets the cover, following everything that happened with them last week at Colorado, and some of their former players talking down on them, Prime and Shedeur. cover, going back at these people talking down on them. Like, if Shador gets the cover, people are going to be on his head. Will there be a coach's cover too? Because I think if there's a coach's cover, the perfect coach to put on the cover of the game would be prime Deion Sanders. But, you know, I don't know. This is going to be a point of emphasis for the fans. If you're on that cover, they expect you to be the best player in the country. And obviously, like, nobody's perfect. Nobody can perform tip top all the time. Like, obviously, that's what the fans will want, but people have bad days, and that is going to be something that people are watching with a hawk's eye when somebody gets put on that cover. So I think these guys who get put on this cover should tread lightly, but should still go out there with confidence and swag. You know, just play how you usually play. But you know, I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm very excited to see who gets put on the cover. I'm very excited. And we only got like a couple more months until that game is supposed to drop. So I would think that the people who are getting put on the cover are getting informed of that status, or even have already been told about that status right now. I'd be interested to see if those get leaked. If people start to find out who's going to be on the cover before it is done, maybe they're going to do that last minute. Who knows? But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments, and we will move on to the next topic. Okay. The NCAA could pay $2.7 billion or more in an NIL antitrust lawsuit settlement for past damages. The Grant House versus NCAA antitrust lawsuit may result in a settlement of more than $2.7 billion for past damages paid by the NCAA over a 10-year period, per ESPN's Pete Thamel, and Dan Murphy. Those payments would be made to college athletes who claimed they were illegally prohibited from profiting off their name, image, and likeness. Now, $2.7 billion is a lot. I would gotta think there's got to be a lot of players who are in this NCAA who are in this lawsuit, because, like, I mean, I don't know. Those payments would be made for college athletes who are illegally. In addition, the settlement would also go hand in hand with a pledge commitment from conferences and schools to share revenue with athletes. The number could be $20 million per year for an athlete revenue share per Thamel. Now, this is exciting. Revenue share? What was that? I was just talking about earlier about how contracts for NIL, and, you know, I mentioned when I was talking about that how, you know, revenue sharing could become a thing, how contracts could become a thing, NIL could be an in-house thing, and athletic departments would then be arguing these contracts, would then be arguing these pay structures. But that would mean that the players would need a players association too, because the athletic directors and these universities are going to do what's best for them and their bottom line. Well, the athletes and themselves have to do what's best for them and their bottom lines and their families. So this is going to become a mini NFL professional league, like $20 million per year for an athlete revenue share, like $20 million. And I think that's like per school, $20 million. I think that's the salary cap per school. I think I saw like between 17 and $20 million. That is, I mean, think about that on a 80-man roster, like an 85 man scholarship roster, 85 guys on scholarship, or even walk-ons. And that's the thing. I wouldn't even know what the structure would look like in terms of scholarships and like all of that. But just think about that spreading $20 million between 85 players. Like, how would you do that? Maybe I should do that in my next video and like break down what $20 million per would look like for, like, so your quarterback obviously is going to get a couple million. Your offensive line is going to get some money. Your defense, and that's the thing. I'm not a GM. And these athletic directors, like, obviously they're balancing budgets and stuff like that, but now they have to become like GMs. Like, does that mean now at the college level they're going to be hiring GMs to be able to manage rosters? Like, will your recruiting director now become your GM? Like, or I don't know. This is so very new. Schools will have the opportunity to share millions in revenue with athletes with a spending limit similar to a professional sports team salary cap. Estimates put the amount at 17 to 22 million per program. Though the amount could fluctuate. The figure was determined through a percentage, roughly 22% of an average of Power 4 athletic departments' revenue streams, most notably ticket sales, television contracts, and sponsorships, not donations. So that money would be coming from ticket sales, television contracts, and sponsorships. So those big company sponsors that you get money from, those television deals, which is the big money. The television deals is where the money comes from. That's where that money comes from, the television contracts and obviously the ticket sales. A lot of money in ticket sales depending on like Montana. I'm sure they make a lot of money in ticket sales. I think Montana in one of their playoff games came close to $1 million just in ticket sales. So, I mean, that alone is a big moneymaker for a lot of these schools. In addition, this case is scheduled to go on trial in January 2025, so next winter. Per ESPN, an NCAA loss in that case could eventually result in the association paying over $4 billion in damages. Paying $1.3 billion more certainly wouldn't be ideal for the NCAA, as an out-of-contract settlement on paper seems like a more palatable conclusion. Either way, this is exciting. And I got a whole host of questions if something like this happens. Like, I mean, $20 million per program? Like, what would that look like? I really want to break down, like, the pay scale and, like, who would be making what. And, like, I mean, like, I don't know. This is wild. Like, man, $20 million is a lot of money. $20 million is a lot of money. And obviously when you're paying 85 scholarship players, like, that stuff goes fast. And then, you know, the conversation will then become like, I don't know. It's wild though. I think it's a very needed change in college football. I mean, I think college athletes go through a lot. You're going to school and you're also being a student. You're an athlete at the same time. An athlete is a full-time job. A student is damn near a full-time job too. So you're doing 2 full-time jobs at the same time. But you know, who makes what and how much is each player getting? I mean, who's arguing for these players? Who's putting the rosters together? I mean, is the head coach now going to be a head coach and a GM, or do you have to hire a GM? And then, like, how does that work? Like, a lot of coaches in college like college because they get to have a really hands-on approach to everything. You know, you get to have a hands-on approach to offense, defense, special teams. You get to have a hands-on approach to what your roster looks like. You get to have a hands-on approach to what scheme you guys are running. Like, they get to be hands-on with everything. In the NFL, jobs are a little more spread out. Obviously, the head coach is still the head coach, but, like, jobs are divvied out a little bit differently. And the GM, I think, a lot of times in NFL organizations is over the head coach. So it's like, I don't know. So it's like, is a college coach willing to give that up at the college level for a GM, or are they just willing to take on the extra job of putting the roster together and deciding pay structures? Like, I don't know if a head coach at college even has time like that. Like, there's so many considerations to take in for this, but you guys let me know what you guys think about this. You guys leave a comment, let me know, and we will move on. One more topic before I move on to my subscriber questions. I have 3 subscriber questions. I think most of them are from last week. I didn't ask the question if anybody wanted to ask me subscriber questions this week, but there were some carryover questions from last week that I didn't get to that I'm going to get to this week. So following this last topic, we will get to that. Sam Herder's likely FCS over FBS victories in 2024. Once again, go follow Sam Herder. I think his name is @SamHerder. It might be FCS, but Hero Sports is another place where you can find a lot of his content. Sam Herder, @SamHerder. If you look at Sam Herder on Twitter, X, you'll find him. He does great work. Go follow him. Go check out all of his articles. He covers the FCS daily. He's dropping stuff daily. He has an FCS daily dose that he's giving you articles daily on FCS topics to attack, FCS things to talk about. Go follow him. Either way, he dropped his 10 most likely victories in 24, and we are going to look at it. At number 10, he had Eastern Washington at Nevada. Obviously, we saw Idaho give Nevada the business last year, and that was one of the games that I looked at and thought, you know, man, Idaho's going to be pretty damn good this year. I think Eastern can definitely get them. I don't know how good Eastern is going to be. Eastern was not very good last year. Montana obviously didn't play Eastern, but I don't know. I don't think Eastern really played any really good teams this past year. And if they did, they didn't do very well. So, but Nevada wasn't very good either. But also, I think Nevada just got Jeff Choate, which he is very familiar with the Big Sky. Obviously, he was at Montana State, and the Big Sky is very familiar with him. So I don't know what his team is going to be like. I don't know if it's going to be similar to a Montana State team, but I think it could be a very exciting outcome right there. Nevada, Eastern Washington. Nevada used to be in the Big Sky. Now they're in the Mountain West. Jeff Choate used to be in the Big Sky. Now he's in the Mountain West after a stint at Texas. That's a good one. I think that's going to be a very good one. South Dakota State versus Oklahoma State. Yes. South Dakota State, man, I mean, this is a great test for them. I think they've been going up in competition year after year. Last year, I can't remember. I don't even know if they played an FBS opponent last year, but the year before they played Colorado State, and they gave them boys the work. And now they're playing a Power 4, a Big 12 school, Oklahoma State, and I think Oklahoma State's going to be a little weaker this year. Like, I don't know. They lost a lot of talent. Oklahoma State did. I mean, obviously it's Oklahoma State, but you know, they lost a lot of talent. They lost some receivers. They lost some defensive guys. I don't even know who their quarterback is, but Oklahoma State, they did keep one of their receivers, Brandon Presley, from Oklahoma. He's a dog. He's coming back to Oklahoma State. So I don't know. I definitely think South Dakota State could beat them. That's number 9 on Sam Herder's list. Number 8, Idaho at Wyoming. Idaho lost a lot of talent, man. They lost their running back. They lost their receiver. They lost their quarterback. Idaho lost a lot of talent. But their schedule is very favorable. I think Idaho could be a team who could win the Big Sky in 2024. I definitely think they could be a team to win the Big Sky in 2024. They don't play Montana. I don't even know if they play Montana State, but their schedule is very favorable in 2024. I remember looking at it a couple weeks ago. But Idaho at Wyoming, definitely a good game. I could definitely see Idaho winning that. I'm not surprised about that. I have no really qualms about that as well. Lafayette at Buffalo. Lafayette was a very good squad in 2023. They were able to put up some points. I know their running back, Jamar Curtis, is a dog. I honestly need to do a breakdown on Jamar Curtis. That boy is a problem. I think he rushed for like 1,400, close to 1,500 yards, dumb amount of touchdowns, all conference, all American. Like, he does it all. He can catch out of the backfield, run good routes. He's a good between the tackles runner, good outside the tackles runner, can make guys miss. Like, Lafayette over Buffalo. Yes, Sam. Yes. UT Martin at Kennesaw State. Obviously, Kennesaw State just moved up. I think they're in Conference USA. They just moved up to the FBS level. I don't think that's a surprise to say UT Martin could beat them. Yeah, I agree with that one, Sam. I agree with that one too. You got NDSU at Colorado. This is one I've been saying, and this is one I've been speaking on. This is what I've been speaking on all offseason. NDSU is going to be very, very good. I think NDSU is going to be the team to beat in 24. I think they are going to be the team to beat in 24. In the MVC and at the whole FCS level. I think NDSU is going to be the team to beat. Them at Colorado is a very interesting date. Especially, now think about it, I was just talking about the NCAA college. I was just talking about the cover of the video game and how, like, Shedeur Sanders, if he gets the cover of the NCAA video game, how that's going to be another point of emphasis for people to scrutinize him. Now imagine if he gets put on the cover of NCAA 25 video game and then they go out and lose to NDSU. My goodness. And they go out and lose to a team that's not even going to be on the game. FCS schools are not even going to be on the game right now. So imagine NDSU goes and beats Colorado and Shedeur Sanders is on the cover of that video game. I'm just saying. I don't know. But I definitely think I have picked them to be my FCS over FBS upset earlier in this offseason. I said that, and I'm sticking with that. I think NDSU could definitely win that game. Central Arkansas at Arkansas State. I don't know much about Central Arkansas. I believe they play in the UAC, United Athletic Conference. I think they're in the United Athletic Conference, but interesting game there. Arkansas State's never that good. I think they play in the Sun Belt. They've never been super good. So that's not a surprise. Sac State at San Jose State. Did Sac State beat Stanford last year? I think last year was the year Sac State beat Stanford. Or it might have been 2 years ago. That might have been 2022 when they beat Stanford. But either way, Sac State has been known to beat FBS schools, has been known to play them tough. So that's not a surprise. Those schools, I think, are very close to each other. Obviously, Sac is in Sacramento, and San Jose State, I think, is more close to, like, San Francisco. But still, very close to each other. Definitely a game that Sac State could win. Sac State, I think, returns their freshman quarterback from last year, who will be a sophomore, and then Caden Bennett, I think, is coming back as well. They lost a receiver. But I think Sac State should be a pretty good squad, pretty strong squad in 2024. So that's definitely a game that I could see them winning. San Jose State is usually up and down in the Mountain West. They're usually good some years, bad some years, but I don't know if they necessarily win the Mountain West year in and year out. But definitely a game Sac State can win, for sure. Fordham at Bowling Green. Bowling Green, I think, is in the MAC, and I don't think they're very good. Fordham plays in the Patriot League with no. Yeah, the Patriot League. Fordham plays in the Patriot League with Holy Cross, and they were, I think, maybe 4th, 5th best in the Patriot League last year. But Bowling Green, I don't expect much out of Bowling Green. I don't know much about Bowling Green. I don't think they're very good. I don't think that's a surprise to say that they could get beat by Fordham. I definitely think they'll get beat by Fordham. But we'll see. We will see. I think it becomes a pride thing with a lot of these G5s and a lot of these Power 5s. It's like, we can't let these guys beat us because they're beneath us. So, like, it's all a mental thing. I remember, let me tell you guys something. I remember when we were playing Washington my senior year at Montana. I remember from the end, well, COVID was in there, but, like, I remember all offseason, I was telling our guys, like, hey, like, we can beat Washington. Like, I was telling our quarterback, Cam, like, bro, we can beat these boys. I was telling our D-line, our defensive guys, like, bro, we can beat these guys. It becomes a thing in your head. If you don't believe you can beat them, you're not going to beat them. You have to believe first that you deserve to be on the field with these guys and that you can beat these guys. And I remember I was pushing that stuff into my guys' heads all offseason. We can beat these guys. We are better than these guys. These guys are not better than us. These guys, we deserve to be on the field with these guys. We can win this game. We will win this game. And next thing you know, we go out there and we beat UW. And it was one of the best feelings of my life. Best feelings of my life. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it becomes a pride thing with some of these G5s. It's like, they don't believe they should even lose to an FCS school. So a lot of times, it's not that they're better, but it's just that sometimes these FCS schools, I think, don't even think that they can win. So they don't win when they really have an opportunity to win. Go in that game for them, believing that you can beat Bowling Green, and you will beat them. Obviously, prepare and, play a good game. Don't play shitty and then think you should win the game. Like, that's not how it works. But believe you can win it, have the ability to win it, and win it. It's easier said than done, but go do it. Go do it. Either way, and then you got Montana State at New Mexico. Do not think that's a surprise at all. Montana State, run the ball, pound the rock. Obviously, they got a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, so I'm interested to see if things will look differently. I think they need to stop running Tommy so much in between the tackles. Obviously, that read option, that zone read option, triple option type play is a big money maker, big hitter for them. So I think you keep that in. But, like, in terms of running him QB power, all of that stuff, QB counter, man, you got to lay off that stuff. You got to lay off that. That is going to get this man hurt for sure. Either way, those are Sam Herter's most likely 10. I agree with NDSU at Colorado. I 100%. South Dakota State at Oklahoma State. I think that is going to be a good one. Eastern Washington and Nevada. I think that's interesting just because Choate is there. So there's some interesting games on here. UT Martin at Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State has not been FBS for that long, so we'll see how much them being at FBS has been able to change their program. Lafayette at Buffalo. I like that for Jamar Curtis. That would be some good film for him in terms of NFL scouts. If he can ball out, that'll look really good for NFL scouts. But you guys let me know what you guys think about some of these. Remember, like I said, go follow Sam Herter. He does great work for the FCS. Make sure you go follow him, and we will move on. Okay, I have a couple of subscriber questions here. The first one is from Colt Allred. He said, was last season's win over the Bison the best at-home win of all time? Who is on the Mount Rushmore of Montana Griz football? Well, let me answer the first question for you. Was last season's win over the Bison the best at-home win of all time? I would say it was, but I'm a very young Griz fan. Like, I'm a very young Griz alum. I went to the University of Montana. Obviously, I got there in 2016. I didn't know about the University of Montana before like 2015 when they offered me. So my history is limited. Obviously, I've learned about the history. App State win. That South Dakota State win was also crazy. I would honestly say there's three that are in the running. The North Dakota State win. Montana's win over North Dakota State. Well, wait, there's a couple. Was last season win over the Bison as the best home win of all time. So there's four. There's four I would put up there. App State in 2009, I believe it was, in the snow. I haven't watched that game back, but people have told me a lot about that game. I've heard it was an amazing atmosphere. South Dakota State, Montana over South Dakota State. I've watched that game back. That was ridiculous. Mark Mariani in that game was absolutely ridiculous. that is one that's got to be up there, especially being down like 40 at one point or 30 something at one point. Like, that is a crazy game to come back from. Crazy game. So that one's up there. Montana at NDSU in 2015, or NDSU at Montana in 2015. That was a ridiculous game. All the NFL talent that they had on that team, the quarterback Carson Wentz, a future first round draft pick, a future second overall draft pick, like, that's got to be up there, especially in the smoke to start the season, week 0, ESPN, national television. Everybody's watching the game. Everybody's watching Montana. Stit happens. Like, that was a great win over a really good NDSU team who I think went on to win the national championship that year. Right there. I mean, that's got to be up there. And then obviously 2023 semifinals. The thing that makes the last year's game really big was that it went to double overtime? Went to double overtime, and it was in the playoffs, in the semifinals to go to the national championship. Like, everything was on the line in this game. That's what makes this one in 2023 so big, is like everything was on the line. When you had to have it, the best players showed up in the biggest moments, and it just made for a really big time game. I mean, it was mostly a defensive battle the whole game until that fourth quarter when things got opened up with that punt return, and then NDSU scores, and then like just amazing game, back and forth ball game, a lot of defense being played, like amazing game to be a part of. That's got to be up there. So those are my 4 Colts. I don't know if I'd be able to give you one. I think it's definitely up there, but I don't want to piss any Griz fans off and say that it is, because I think there's definitely a lot that could be up there, you know? So you guys let me know what you think about that, and we will move on. Oh, wait. We're not going to move on, because Colt had 2 parts of his question. The second part of his question, who is on the Mount Rushmore of Montana Griz football? Man, when you say Mount Rushmore, that's like the 4 best of the best. One, you got to have who is on the Mount Rushmore of Montana Griz football. Man, you put me on the spot here. You got to have Dave Dickinson. Obviously, he's up there. Dave Dickinson is up there. Man. I mean, can you put coaches up there? Can coaches go in the Mount Rushmore? Because I think Don Reed would definitely be in the Mount Rushmore of Montana football. Brought the first national championship to Montana. Like, him and Dave Dickinson are the first two names that I think of when putting somebody in the Mount Rushmore. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if I'm qualified to answer this question, because I don't know if my Griz history is as versed as it should be. Like, obviously, I played at Montana, but I don't know if I know enough about Montana history and the players to give this Mount Rushmore its just due. I think Coach Houck, if we're putting coaches up there, Coach Houck definitely has to be up there. His success at the FCS level, his success in the Big Sky Conference, his staying power at the FCS level, I think he's the most winningest coach, or one of the most winningest at the FCS level. Definitely the most winningest coach in the Big Sky Conference. Definitely the most winningest coach at Montana. Like, he's got to be up there. Dave Dickinson, Don Reed, Coach Houck, and I'm trying to put players up there, but like I don't know, because there's so many good players. I don't want to do anybody injustice by putting anybody up there, but like, personally, somebody that came to my mind was Mark Mariani. Like, he had a great career at Montana. I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm saying, like, I can't do it justice. You guys let me know in the comments, please. Let me know in the comments who you think is on the Mount Rushmore of Montana football. I will go through them, and then I can pick out of you guys' picks what I think. And you guys can either do players, all players, or you guys can do coaches and players. You guys also let me know in the comments. Do you think a Mount Rushmore for Montana football should be just players, or does it have to be players and coaches? Because there's been some great coaches at the University of Montana. I think you do some of them just do injustice by just putting players in the Mount Rushmore, because I think some coaches like Coach Houck, Coach Reed deserve to be in the Mount Rushmore. Dave Dickinson, obviously the quarterback of that squad, deserves to be in the Mount Rushmore. But like, you guys let me know in the comments. What do you guys think? And we will move on. Next question is maybe an update on all of our Grizzly NFL prospects. So you got Nash Fouch. You got Gubner getting a minicamp invite. Nash Fouch, the Giants. Gubner getting the Chiefs. AJ Forbes getting the Seahawks. And then Travis Benham got invited to Jets. I was correct earlier when I was talking about it. Jets minicamp. So you got Travis Benham, Jets minicamp. Nash Fouts, the Giants minicamp. You got Alex Gubner, the Chiefs minicamp. And you have AJ Forbes, Seahawks minicamp. So 4 Grizzlies getting minicamp invites. They're getting opportunities. Hopefully they're able to make the most of them. I hope it turns out well for them. But that's your update. That's your Grizzly minicamp Pro Day NFL update for all of the fans out there. It's from Seamus Manley, really great guy, top contributor in one of these chats. But he said, what is one thing that the average fan doesn't understand about how a wide receiver creates good routes and gets separation? Great question. There's a lot of intricacies in route running. You know, some guys are more strength guys. Some guys are more finesse guys. Like, you know, I don't there's a lot, man. Like subtleties within routes, like body control, body positioning, how you're able to, like, with a lot of coaches like to coach, like, you want every route to look the same. You want every route to look the same. But I think that might be coming a little outdated. I mean, it still stands. If every route looks like a fade, it's hard for a defender to get used to it. It's hard for a defender to understand what you're running if the beginning of every route looks the same. That's why your drive phase is so big. That's why keeping your head down, driving out of your stance is a really big thing. But also, like, sometimes making the defender think you're running one thing, like deception is a big thing as a route runner. So, like, say if you're running an out and you make it look like a fade until it's not. I mean, there's a lot of intricacies. Like, your footwork is big in routes. Change of direction, your body control, and that's why people talk about your body posture. Like, you don't want to give it away by, like, leaning one way or the other way, because, you know, the defensive back is most likely always going to break on that second move. So say you lean here, he's going to break on that second move. So sometimes that's why 3 moves within a route are big. I mean, there's a lot. It's a lot to break down into just one basic thing, like understand how it creates good routes and great separation. Everybody does it a little differently. Like, DeAndre Hopkins is not more of a finesse receiver. He can run routes. He can get open. He wouldn't be in the NFL if he couldn't run routes and get open. But he's more overpowering you. He's going to use his strength, his big hands, his 50-50 catch ability to beat you. Like, he's probably not going to be wide open a lot of times. But then you have Tyreek Hill, who's super fast and can run routes. Has become a better route runner with time, you know, but his speed is what set him apart from the jump. Devontae Adams, a 4.5 guy, not the fastest guy, but has great releases at the line. And I would tell you to turn on the tape and go watch his releases. His releases are absolutely ridiculous. But he's got that burst, he's got that suddenness, he's got that body control in his routes, in his releases, to where, you know, you don't know so much where he's going until he shakes you off your spot and he's into his route. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of great receivers out there. Devontae Adams is somebody I love to watch. He's amazing. Julio was somebody I watched during college. AB, like, if you ever watched, me and Justin Calhoun did this during college. We went and watched AB's film, and a lot, like, especially when he had Ben Roethlisberger. Him and Ben Roethlisberger never, like, it was rare that AB caught the ball on the route that he was supposed to run. Like, AB was out there playing backyard football. I swear to you, go watch Antonio Brown's Steelers film. He was playing backyard football. Like, I'm just going to find the open space in your defense. If you're manning me up, I'm going to win if you're manning me up. But I still, like, my route might look crazy in man. I'm just going to find a way to get open. I know that Ben Roethlisberger is going to find me, and that's how they played it. And it's honestly crazy to watch. Like, but AB is for sure one of the best receivers in the past decade, for sure, from the 2010s to 2020s. Like, AB was dominating. I don't care what anybody says. AB was probably the best, if not top 3 during that era. For sure. Should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't know if that will happen because of all the antics outside of the game, but AB is a dog. Been a dog, still a dog. Like, man, he's got it. Either way, though, there's differences. It just depends on what type of receiver you like. Some guys are zone guys. Some guys are man guys. Some guys get open easier in zone. Some guys know how to find that zone, like Travis Kelce. He runs really good routes. He's got really good wiggle in his routes, but also he's a zone guy too. Like, he can sit down in those zones, and I think that's why Travis Kelce is so good, because he can run great routes in man. He can beat you in man, but then in zone, he's going to find those zones always, and he's always going to sit down in the right zone. He's always going to find the right window for his quarterback. He's always going to be quarterback friendly. Yeah, I mean, Travis Kelce is the guy. Him, Devontae, AJ Brown. AJ Brown is somebody who's got great wiggle. It's more like a running back. He can get open. He's going to overpower you on a lot of his routes. He's going to run good routes. He's going to get open. But his real ability is when he has the ball in his hands, what he does with the ball in his hands. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It's amazing. But, yeah, I mean, it's just preference. What do you prefer as a coach? What do you prefer as a fan from your receivers? Do you like finesse guys? Do you like speed guys? Do you like route runners? Do you like physical receivers? It just depends. Everybody does a little differently. But thank you for your questions, Seamus Manley. That will conclude my subscriber questions. I appreciate you guys for all the questions you asked. I appreciate you guys for tapping into the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for showing love. Make sure you guys hit the like, hit the subscribe. Let me know what you guys want to see next week. Make sure you guys comment on my Mount Rushmore. Please tell me your Mount Rushmore Montana players, and I will look at that and get to that next week. I appreciate you guys for tapping in. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you guys next time.